Okay, yes. So, good evening to all the panelists and the attendees for today. I welcome all of you. I extend a very warm welcome from the CII panel on the skills and education for Madhya Pradesh as the convener of this panel. And I also welcome all of you to this very interesting and pertinent discussion which we have scheduled for today. To take the program ahead and to give formal welcome remarks and opening remarks, I hereby invite Shri B.S. Yadav ji, who's the co-convener of CII Madhya Pradesh Education and Skills Panel, to come ahead and start the program formally. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Siddharji. A very good afternoon to all and welcome to our honorable keynote speaker and chief guest, Mrs. Swati Meena Nayak. She is Director, Women and Child Development, Government of MP. I wholeheartedly welcome the eminent resource person who have joined us today, Mrs. Jyoti Arora, Member Governing Body CBSE New Delhi and Principal Mount Abu Public School, Delhi. I also welcome Mrs. Sangeeta Uppal, Principal Millennium School, Indore. I welcome Dr. Pallavi Rao Chaturvedi ji. She is Executive Vice President, ISECT Group and founder of Brainivia Preschools. I also welcome Professor Mrs. Manisha Kavatkar, Group Director of our IAS Public School, Bhopal and Sihor. I welcome Mr. Siddharth Chaturvedi, who is the Chairman of CIA Bhopal. I also welcome Mr. Viniraj Modi, who is the Vice President of Unaided Private Schools Association of MP. I welcome all the members of CIA and other attendees on today behalf of CIA through this thought-provoking webinar being organized for sharing ideas regarding preschools education in context of NEP 2020. We are grateful for having received this unique opportunity to interact directly with our chief guest, Mrs. Swati Meena Nayak, Director WCD, Government of MP. She will join shortly, and all the experienced educationists for brainstorming of necessary changes in pre-primary education. Madam Swati Meena Nayak will also cover the proposed rules for the governing of the preschool in the state of MP. Early childhood care and education, as referred to in NEP, our development and care of educational programs for the children at entry level of preschools up to 8 years of age. It has gained prominence over the years as aim to make little children feel safe, secured, cared for, ensure they develop a positive self-esteem and numerous skills. According with their individual capabilities, these along with the writing and arithmetic will make the children ready for their years of primary school. Thank you. Today we are participating to benefit from the experience of all the experts gathered here and hope we will take away valuable inputs to further up our cause of providing holistic development to the young preschoolers. Thank you. I request Siddharthi to take it forward.
Thank you, Yadav sir, for your remarks and warm welcome once again to today's session. So today's session is focused on the early childhood care and education in the context of the new education policy. And the CII task force has previously done 3 dialogues on the new education policy from the lens of higher education, vocational training, and the last one being on school education. So with these 3 segments covered, today we are covering the 4th segment, which is the probably the most interesting addition into the new education policy. And as we are all aware, the new education policy is an ambitious, progressive policy, and it covers a lot of groundbreaking reforms across the entire education ecosystem. So be it changing of the academic structure at the school level or at the graduation level, be it the multidisciplinary approach, be it the focus on internships and vocational education, or this entire step of adding early childhood care and education, which was earlier seen probably as an adjunct to the entire education system. Now it is very much in the mainstream, and it is interesting to see how this will be taken up from state to state. So today we have a very experienced panel to shed some light on this topic. We will begin the discussion now, and I also once again welcome our panelists as well as the keynote speaker for today, Madam Swati Meena Naik. So just to begin the session today, I would like to invite our first panelist, Madam Manisha Kawatekar, who's the director of IES Public School, Bhopal and Siror. I will take just a short, one or two, just under 1 minute to introduce her formally, and then I will hand it over to Madam Manisha for her first address. So she's the group director at the IES group of schools. She's also a BTech and MBA with a rich experience of 28 years in teaching, as well as research in the Dabur Research Foundation. She's been a part of the training and placement cell at the IES group of institutions earlier. And in the course of her work, she has interacted with several students on the employability and the career aspects. She is now actively involved in the administration of all the schools at the IES group. She oversees the assessments, teacher development programs, and student enrichment activities of all the schools, and works at an overall level on the development, holistic development of the students. In recognition of her contribution to education, she has been felicitated with several awards, the noteworthy of them being the Big Guru Award, the Rashtriya Pratibha Samman Manch Award, and the Shikshak Award by Sadhguru Nagrik Sehkari Bank. The ISR activities of the school have earned several recognitions from the organizers of several activities in Bhopal and across Madhya Pradesh. So without further ado, I will now invite Madam Manisha ji for her address on this topic. And I would like to just request each of the panelists to kindly stick to the time limit. In the next 10 to 15 minutes, we will try and have your address, ma'am. So over to you, Manisha ji, for your address. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Siddharth ji. Thank you very much for the kind words of introduction. Very good afternoon to one and all present here. It is a privilege to be part of this August gathering of intellectuals to share ideas on this platform with all the eminent experienced educators. It is always useful to discuss, to learn, to reinvent our systems, especially when we work for the future of our Gen Next, that is our youngest students, our preschoolers. We've all witnessed the transformation of our educational system, what it has gone through in the past few decades. And this change has accelerated through this COVID pandemic. It disrupted our lives, all the earlier systems, but I must say that we are truly proud of the speed with which our teaching fraternity has adapted to this change. Here at IES, we have the entire range of student community, from the preschoolers to secondary, through senior secondary, even UG, PG, and even doctoral level. So a huge portion of the experience which I have gained is actually thanks to the input of the entire range of educationists we work with. It has given a broadened vision, a deeper understanding of the phenomenal impact that the foundational stage of education has on the students' academics, on their careers, their personality, as well as their lifestyle in the later years of life. So few of the initial skills that the students pick up easily in the foundation years, like the communication skills, the basic numeracy, a healthy emotional quotient, personality traits like self-esteem and values, all these carry them forward through the higher levels of education and through their adult years. So as today we discuss the early childhood care and education, we all need to be aware as teachers that NEP aims at developing the 21st century skills among students, which include critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, all the 4 C's, along with literacy, and these days, technological or digital ability, flexibility and leadership, initiative, and of course, social skills with ethics and values. As educators, we are all aware that over 85% of a child's cumulative brain development occurs before the age of 6. So that is the reason that the role of the teachers, the parents, and an updated education system has now gained so much importance. We can together groom these budding young minds and ensure a secure future for them and for our society. Of course, this applies to all children, whether they are from families with means or for families which do not have such means. The new pedagogical and curricular structure of school education, which the NEP states the 5+3+3+4, which is 5 years of the foundational stage, 3 years of primary, 3 years of secondary, and 4 years of senior secondary, allots a good 5 years, the maximum, to the foundational stage. So this is where the multi-level, the play activity-based learning take place. There are 3 years for the preschools, that is for the 3 to 6-year-olds, and 2 years for grades 1 and 2, that is the 6 to 8-year-olds. So NCERT is developing a framework for children in this age group, that is in 3 to 8 years, in 2 parts. One sub-framework for the below 3-year-olds and another sub-framework for the 3 to 8-year-olds. So as teachers, we are dealing with this second subgroup, that is the 3 to 8 years old. We need to incorporate more fun learning techniques, and it has been suggested and it has been followed also over the years through art, stories, poetry, songs, and the like. These are no doubt popular techniques, and they have been used since time immemorial in our country. But if the focus has shifted to more of writing and rote learning, then this is the time to change. Teachers can promote artistic skills as children love to draw, color, paint, and of course it builds motor skills, hand-eye coordination, gives them cognitive skills, spatial concepts, and an awareness of their surroundings. So storytelling has also been popular through the ages, and it is again gaining prominence. Morals, values, and ethics are learned easily by our little ones through these stories. They also, in fact, gain general awareness, knowledge of history, of the world, about countries. They learn different languages, cultures, customs, and that broadens their outlook for life. Songs and poetry also make learning fun. They reduce the stress of memorization. We really need to ensure that they do not develop the stress of schooling in these years, the pressure of stress, or to fall into the rote learning habits. Only then they will be able to think creatively and be innovative and of use to society later on. So for the 3 to 6-year-olds, the focus has been on a complete holistic 360-degree development, learning of communication and early language skills, self-control, which is very necessary for a healthy life, including the basics of literacy, language, numeracy. Here, reading and speaking is of prime importance because little children can learn as many languages as possible. They can have multiple language skills in these early years. So NEP has said that prior to the age of 5, every child will move to a preparatory class or a Bal Vatika before grade 1 to learn some essential skills. And personally, I've seen that even in higher education, students really use these skills, which we shall be discussing now. So what are these skills? They are teamwork and collaboration. Many of our higher education students who have won competitions at the national level, the Yahoo Accenture Innovation Jockey Challenge, or the TGMC by IBM, they have all done it through teamwork and collaboration. The next thing is the play-based and discovery-based learning. We need to keep the children curious. If simply informing them about things is killing their curiosity, we need to change. There has to be more experiential learning. They need to do it, to have hands-on learning in order to retain that knowledge. So also developing curiosity, then logical thinking and problem solving. This can go through games. There are a lot of games available in the market which imbibes these traits in them. The arts and crafts and music, the performing and the visual arts, they bring in creativity. The relationship with nature, that is most important in the present scenario, because as most children who live in cities do not have much of a connect with nature. The colors, shapes, alphabets, numbers, of course, all of these were taught and are being taught, but they can be promoted in a more realistic manner where they can be correlated to the surroundings and to what they actually see around them. And then, like we discussed a few minutes ago, the ethics, etiquette, behavior, and emotional development that can take place through the storytelling. So all this will lead to a sound self-identity. And that self-esteem is what will take them through life, because that is what upholds a person to be the best of whatever they are destined to be. So the primary school and the preparatory class shall be based primarily on the play-based learning, with a focus, of course, on developing physical and psychomotor abilities on early literacy and numeracy. The grade 1 and 2 children, the 6 to 8-year-olds, they are more adapted to the school and to its routine, to the discipline. So their learning will comprise of the alphabets, languages, numbers, counting, colors, shapes, and indoor and outdoor play, because play is a very, very important part of childhood. There can be puzzles and logical thinking, problem solving, drawing, painting, other visual art, drama, and interestingly, puppetry and stories. Music and movement, which is an integral part of early childhood. So the schools initiate health checkups. They can reduce the weight of the school bags. They can emphasize on the health and nutrition, on physical education, fitness, wellness, sports. All this is an area of focus for the little children. And of course, it is all possible when the teacher-student ratio is below 1:30. Counselors are also an important part of the guidance at school and bring in an inclusive and caring culture. So the NEP has also included provisions for the workers and teachers to be trained through a systematic effort as per the curricular framework developed by NCERT. For the implementation of programs, the workers and teachers with a qualification of 10+2 or more can be given a 6-month certificate program in the early childhood education. Those with lower educational qualifications can be given a 1-year diploma program covering literacy, numeracy, and other relevant aspects. So dear teachers and participants of this webinar, your role, your enthusiasm, and adoption of the new policy is fundamental to its success. So I would like to sum up with a popular quote: look back and get experience, look forward and see hope, look around and find reality, look within and find yourself, your confidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Manisha ji. I think you summed up the overall approach and the intent of the early childhood care section of the NEP very well. And of course, the onus definitely lies not only on the education leaders and the teachers, but for the entire ecosystem to see that this policy should not fail. This is probably our only chance to leapfrog into the next kind of orbit which India aspires for. And early development, early childhood development is a key foundation which can be the game changer in the coming years. So we welcome your views and thank you so much for that address. Next, I would like to take the program ahead and invite our next speaker for this, who's Dr. Pallavi Rao Chaturvedi. Before I invite her, let me introduce her briefly. So Dr. Pallavi is an educationist, an entrepreneur, and a parenting coach. She is the executive vice president at ISEC Group, and she's also the founder of Brainy Bear chain of preschools, the vice president of the Early Childhood Association of India, and she was also the founding president of the EO chapter, Entrepreneurs Organization chapter of Bhopal. She is also now, more importantly, the creator of one of India's fastest growing English parenting YouTube channels, Get Set Parent with Pallavi. And she's also now a consulting parenting expert for First Cry, Mompresso, and several other platforms. She's a regular speaker at several national and international forums. Her latest initiative, a YouTube channel called Get Set Parent with Pallavi, where she offers parenting advice to fellow parents, is one of the fastest growing parenting channels on YouTube and has several followers, and it's quite popular now. She was also recently featured on the cover page of Parent Edge magazine for a story about making math fun for kids. And now, most recently, Get Set Parent with Pallavi has also launched India's first stimulation kit for early toddlers for 0 to 2 years of age recently. So I now welcome Dr. Pallavi for her remarks on the topic of early childhood care and education in the context of new education policy. So over to you, Pallavi.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Siddharth, for inviting me onto this panel organized by CII. Thanks also to Mr. B.S. Yadav for inviting me onto this panel. So I think the fact that we're discussing early childhood education by a CII panel itself shows the kind of spotlight this segment has finally got, right? Nobody really cared what happened to children between 0 and 6. It was always about 10th mein kya score hai, what is happening in 12th. And this segment, whether it is preschoolers, early childhood experts, educationists, have always struggled to get that attention, be it from the Women and Child Ministry, HRD Ministry. It was nobody's baby, right? So these little ones were literally on no man's land. And for the first time in the history of this country's educational history that we've had, this entire age group of 0 to 6 has actually gained that kind of recognition, and that will completely change the landscape of things. So before I start, Mrs. Manisha, you really outlined the NEP very well as far as the ECC segment is concerned. So I'll pick off from that and go there. So today's Times of India actually talks about how productive will Indian kids be in the future, and it is expected that Indian kids will rank 116th among 174 countries participating. So this is a 2020 report by the World Bank. And I think this has been a cause of worry. This is, of course, based on the education system that is currently in, not the new one. And it also shows that a child born in India today will only be 49% productive on his or her 18th birthday. So obviously these are worrying statistics, and we want to change this, right? As one of the emerging superpowers, we don't want to be ranked 149 out of 174. It's actually shameful. And that's where I think the NEP offers us hope, because without the strong foundation of the educational culture in a country, we've always looked at PISA scores of Finland, of Singapore, and we've always spoken about how, these countries rank in the top 10 and we're sitting, on the wrong side of 100. And maybe the NEP is our hope to change that entire situation. So there are 4 things I'm really excited about before I come into this early childhood bit. One is the right to education is now called right to learning. And learning is a much larger concept. It encompasses a much deeper aspect as compared to education, as opposed to right to education. Because learning actually is a very 360-degree concept. The second thing is access and reach. India, in its first first several decades after independence, the struggle was always about what are our gross enrollment ratios into schools, access and reach, basic literacy was the point. Now, for the first time, we're talking about what is the quality. So that is, I think, a very drastic shift that I see in the NEP. The third thing that I'm really excited about is that from a 1.6% GDP investment into this entire space, we're finally going up to 6%. So 6 is not what we all wanted. We were hoping for a double-digit GDP investment, but nevertheless, 1.6 to 6% is a large shift. And finally, India has been criticized, our education system has been criticized to be very content heavy and rote learning centered. So from that, now it is going to be for the first time learner centered. We're actually going to be talking about who is the learner and not what is the syllabus. And I think this mind shift is going to be the game changer as far as NEP is concerned. Of course, Siddharth, I would like you to please give me a heads up when I have about 2 minutes so I can stop.
Sure.
The other thing is, like I said, for the first time, the first 6 years come into play in the NEP. And why is this important? This is very critical as an early childhood practitioner and researcher. I'll tell you that the first 6 years actually contribute to 90% of the brain development. Preschools have cried hoarse about it. We've been talking about it for donkey's years. Nobody's listened to us. But this brain development actually forms the basis of lifelong learning for all students. So whether you're in your school going years, your college years, all you're doing, right, when you are in high school or college is adding on to that foundation. And if your first 6 years are not strong, you've got a shaky building going ahead. And when you suddenly question in grade 10, why are our results like this? Why are our children very, they're kind of reproducing. They're not, we are known to have low innovation in our country. We're known to be, very weak on our research. Why is that happening? Because of the conditioning that all of us, right? We're also products of the old education system. But that is how we've been conditioned. And the neuroplasticity of the brain is such that you can take it wherever you want. So the first 6 years become very, very critical. So I won't go into how is the new policy structured, the entire thing, because Professor Manisha has already done that. She's spoken about the foundational stage and how all the way till grade 2 is going to be called the foundation stage. What I would like to talk about is something called FLN, right? The Foundation Literacy and Numeracy, which has been given a lot of importance in the NEP. And every early childhood practitioner has to know what FLN is. So everybody who's logged on here today, and I'd request CII to maybe share this link with other schools who've not logged in today, so they can have a look at this as well. So whether you're, so education is a concurrent subject, right? We all know that. So while the center draws out the policy, the execution and the success of this is with the state governments, it is with the school managements, it's with the principals, it's with the teachers, it is also with the parents. So all of us are going to be stakeholders, in ensuring that this policy actually sees light of day. So FLN is called Foundation Literacy and Numeracy, and this is going to be the basis of the way the curriculum is structured for the preparatory years, the middle school years, the secondary level, and higher education. So if students are not confident by grade 3 in the FLN curriculum which has been launched, the entire later schooling, right from the grade 3 onwards, kids are going to be on shaky ground. In fact, there's going to be an assessment at grade 3 of the FLN level. So this is true for government schools, private schools, Anganwadis, for everybody. So there is actually going to be a national mission for FLN, which is going to be set up by the Ministry of Education to ensure that this foundation level skills of literacy and numeracy is going to be implemented. So we have seen, literacy missions come into the country earlier. This FLN mission has already it is going to be set up very soon by the Ministry of Education to drive this entire thing. The focus is going to be on reading, writing, math, apart from all the other aspects. So we've spoken about, we all know the music and movement, the art, the logical thinking, the problem solving skills. Apart from all of this, this is going to be a very core mission. So apart from literacy, it has now been taken on as literacy and numeracy. There is also going to be a national book promotion policy, which I find very, very interesting, which is basically the expansion of our public libraries in this country. So India has not been known to have very good public facilities, right? So whether it's museums, parks for children, public libraries, this has been a sort of weak spot for the country. But with this national book promotion policy, this entire access to books is going to really be thrown open, and that is very exciting. Along with that, there is also the creation of digital libraries, right? So I think from what I understand, there's going to be a call to all private schools to digitize their libraries and share. So something very interesting I came across in the NEP is the concept of buddy schools. So you'll have a private school and a government school who can actually partner together, leverage, each other's strengths, and, obviously the onus being more on the private school to, provide direction and future thinking as well. What's also very interesting is something called Diksha, which will be set up, which is the National Repository for High Quality Teaching Content for Teachers. So yes, we're talking about all of these great things, but let's not forget the final delivery is going to be happening by the teacher in the classroom. So through continuous professional development programs for teachers and Diksha, which is this national repository which the government plans to launch, teachers are going to have access, right? So it's all very hunky-dory to talk about our end result, but there is a process and there are people involved in this. So there's going to be a lot of effort which which will need to go into upgrading our teachers. Our teachers, like us, are also the product of the old education policy. So they're not going to be able to change overnight. What will be needed is continuous training and hand-holding and professional development for them. And for that, in fact, in the GDP among the 1.6%, nearly 2% has been set aside for teacher training, which I think is a very, very positive sign as far as disbursement of funds go. Another very interesting thing is a 3-month play-based school compulsory preparatory module for all children entering grade 1. So if you look at the way the country is structured, when you say preschool, there are some states who have playgroup, nursery, KG1, KG2. There are some who have playgroup, nursery, KG and grade 1. Some who have playgroup, KG1, KG2. So it is very assorted, and this actually works very differently in all states. So this 3-month preparatory program before entering grade 1 will actually be the leveler for all states. All children come across the same level. So that is one checkpoint to make sure that across the country there is uniformity. All children entering grade 1 are at the same level. And the second checkpoint is at grade 3, which is going to be this assessment which is going to happen at grade 3 before children enter grade 4. So these are some of the interesting aspects which I actually see in the NEP. And this ECCE, which is the Early Childhood Care and Education, I think is one of the most progressive aspects of the NEP. And finally, I want to talk about NCPF ECE, which is the National Curricular and Pedagogical Framework for Early Childhood Education. This brings the entire country into one curriculum. Till now, all of you who are early childhood educators, every preschool has a different curriculum. Somebody is using Montessori method, somebody is using Howard Gardner method, somebody is using the blended approach model, somebody is using Reggio Emilio. So there's so many different models going on. With the NCPF ECE, under the NCERT, there is going to be one framework, one curriculum, all preschools across the country. So I think there is a lot to celebrate. as far as the new policy is concerned, but the caveat being the quality of education, the implementation and execution of this entire policy. So I think those are my opening remarks, and overall I'm very hopeful and optimistic that states will, you know, kind of catch on to this exciting policy and really pave the way for something very exciting for the future of our states, our schools, and our children. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pallavi, and very nicely you have highlighted some of the key differentiating factors from the early system and as to what is proposed under the new education policy. And if really all of them are to see the light of the day, it will definitely have a major impact on the overall learning outcome as well as the preparation of the students to enter the formal schooling journey in their lives. So thank you so much for joining and giving your comments. We request you stay on with us.
Thank you so much.
Now, taking the program ahead, I would like to move on to our third experienced speaker. We have Madam Sangeeta Uppalji with us, who's the principal of the Millennium School Indore. Welcome, Sangeeta ji. And I will just introduce her formally. She is the principal of reputed CBSE school, Millennium School of Indore. Her achievements, to share a few, are the Sandipani Vishisht Gurujan Samman, Guru Shishya Award, and School Stars National Leadership Award. She was also nominated for the prestigious Nile Award. Under her mentoring and guidance, TMS has been accredited with British Council International School Award back for 2015 to 19 period. As a person, she believes that adversity is important to teach us the value of life and its purpose. And as a cancer survivor, she is truly of the opinion that one cannot be defeated until one desires. She is also actively working for cancer patients and survivors and taking up a cause each year through her Light a Diya of Hope campaign in the school and joining hands with Sitare Foundation to educate the intelligent but underprivileged children and to bring them into mainstream to foresee a better life for them in the annual calendar every year. So we are privileged to have you, Sangeeta ji, with us. Not only are you associated with the education system for a long time, you're also working on such much needed social causes, which is much appreciated. So I now request you to please come forward and give your remarks on this topic of today.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, CIA and ASECT and IES University. I think what we are discussing has excited us all. You know, the new education policy, waiting, and suddenly it comes out. And today we are discussing a very, very important part of it, the early childhood part, you know, the ECCE part. Now, I personally feel, what was the need for it to be put into the NEP? Like my other panelists, you know, very rightly have put in so many points. The need was that, you know, we had no structure out there and anybody would do whatever they wanted to do. And there was nothing called, you know, in a way leading it forward. If I wanted to start a play school, a 10 by 10 room was also enough. And the only idea sometimes was to just move the children into a play group and then just teach them whatever they wanted to teach. So the need here was, you know, when the PISA report came and the other, now as ma'am said, we will be ranked so low. It is alarming, you know, you have to move forward in life. And when you do not, you know, it has to be bottoms up, not the top bottom. We knew what happened with CCE when we started from the top and then we tried going down. And after 10 years, we were nowhere as it vanished into thin air. So, you know, the need here is so important. You know, when I look at children, you know, they are the future prospect and the young ones are truly. And as a principal, when I'm meeting these aspiring, people moving ahead in life, coming for admissions, they're very proud, sometimes when they tell me that my child knows the table of 2 or 4 or 6, and the age of the child is 2.5, 3.5. And then I try to link it that what table would a child know? We got it all wrong out there. A table for a child would be simply a piece of furniture, not something a repetitive multiplication. So here we have, parents also getting so confused at what exactly means. So when we are talking of, the structure, this was the need to have a structured curriculum and introducing it into NEP, because NEP is all about accountability also. So when we are talking of accountability of the younger generation, I think this will play it will be a major game changer for future. And in future, what does it mean? There can not be an education for little ones. It has to be a development. A developmental milestone is all we require. And, you have to go by developmental milestone. As ma'am Pallavi would know, in preschools, it is, that is what we talk about, linking them with the outcomes and the age. So there was nothing of that sort. Anybody who wanted could, get something from abroad. I liked the curriculum from Australia, I would get it. I liked it from UK, I would get it. And then I would start teaching it. But where was the natural flavor? Where was the environment, the local Indian environment into it? Sometimes, when we talk of even the rhymes in the context, they are also not having Indian touch into it. We all know some of the rhymes were written in British contests when they, like Ringa Ringa Roses, we all know why it was written. So, it has to be linked to a natural content. And the one thing which I, like greatly about is that when you're structuring this curriculum, you're talking about your language, development of language. Little ones, their cognitive skills, their communication skills will develop when they are taught not in a rote way learning, but in their language. The moment, when we start thinking that English is important, but concepts are even more important. We have to teach these children the concepts with the local environment. So that was the need, why we thought the NEP had to cover the, the early childhood education. Now, why it has to be structured, and my second thing which comes to my mind is why a curriculum has to be structured. The need for the structure is that India is a very diverse country, and there has to be some sort of readiness for children, to go into primary schooling, into schools. At the moment, when we were admitting children under RTE, in grade 1, somebody could have learned something, the other child could have learned something, and maybe one child could have not even gone to play school at all. So you see, there was no benchmark about this holistic development which we talk about. So when we are structuring it, as ma'am has rightly put, and what all things, we're talking of languages, extracurricular activities, we are talking of playway methods, we're talking of our own roots. This will definitely take the children forward. We have to prepare the children for the 21st century. And how it is going to happen. See, the impact of NEP will not happen tomorrow. We will see the impact somewhere. If it starts from 2022, the first batch, which will be under the NEP, maybe in the 5+3+3+4 curriculum, would be somewhere in 2032. It's going to be that long. So what do you want for those, people who are entering into that stream? They have to be problem solvers. They have to be critical learners. They have to be having digital literacy. They should be, having leadership skills. These all, it should be a compact thing. They should not be knowing one subject only. The world is not going to be restrained. This pandemic has taught us not be having only one. So this EC, a tree will only grow stronger when the roots are very strong. So here we are talking of, for the first time, I think we are really hitting the bullseye when we are saying that we will start from the bottom. We will start from where actually it is needed. And, then it has to go to the grassroots levels. When you have a structured curriculum, you know the way out. You know what is to be done. At the moment, we were not very sure what is to be done. As ma'am rightly said, somebody would teach something, somebody would teach avocado, somebody would teach A for apple, somebody would teach something else. But now when we have this, structured curriculum, and when the NCERT is going to define the domains of the curriculum, definitely it will go down to the, grassroots levels. It's going to be a challenge. I know it's going to be a challenge, training teachers, giving them that confidence that yes, it will work. Because at the moment that apprehension would be there. And then the involvement of the stakeholders also has to be there. The parents, who still believe, as ma'am rightly said before me, marks, kitne percent aaye, kya hua? Now we have to talk how much the skills a child has acquired. We're talking of holistic report cards. We are going to be having these, children being observed every day and bringing about changes in them and observe and doing good for them every moment. So this is very important that we are going ahead with this curriculum, because again, this has to be accessible. The 4 things which NEP is talking about is accessibility, affordability, accountability, and quality. For ECCE, for the child, basic education, these 4 things are the 4 pillars. It has to be accessible to everybody, and it will be only accessible when it is understood by everybody. And then we have to be accountable for it. And finally, it has to be quality education, which will only come when your children down at the bottom are not just simply rote learners. They are active thinkers. They are thinking about the intelligentsia. They're moving ahead in life, and they can ask questions. They're curious to learn. Our problem is we are not doing it at the moment. So once this happens, it will actually be very, very great thing to happen in this country. And how it is going to be impacting the 21st century learners, I think what ma'am was telling before me, that we are at that level. I think once this curriculum in the early childhood is implemented with full force, I think that ranking would change. And in 2032, when our Indian children move into the world globally, they would be on the top. Because we are not just producing children who are just being fed something. We will be producing children, or we will be developing rather children who would be linking everything to some sort of questioning and would be, moving ahead in life. They would be entrepreneurs. They would not be, just confined to only domain of learning which they've learned. Interpersonal skills would be good, because this is also, developed at early childhood age. Your social skills, your emotional skills, these are all developed when you are young. Maximum brain development takes place at this age. So if we are doing the right thing at the right time, when the children are just very young, we say catch them young. So when we are going to be catching them young, I'm sure when they move into 2032, when we all will be looking at them, we'll be really proud of them. So I would end with this only, that, it's going to be a challenge for all of us, all educationists, all teachers, pre-primary teachers, even, even the, the bureaucrats for that matter, because now it will come under, even the pre-primary is going to be there. But the holistic development will start from there. Unless and until, we will not hammer it down there, we will not be able to reach the milestone which we are talking about, the future or the higher or the college education. So I think these are the 3 points, basically I wanted to talk about, that the need was very important, that we wanted to have a structure where, everybody would go through the same sort of process, and then of course we can take them forward. And then when we are moving ahead, maybe a decade later, we have learners, we have entrepreneurs, we have geniuses, we have innovators who can give this society a lot. So I think that is what I have to say. Thank you so much. And it's been a really, really brainstorming session for me also. And, I have heard the other panelists also talk about, and it's wonderful to hear them. And I'm taking a lot of food for thought. And I'm sure that together we will, be able to implement it in a much better way. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta ji, for your address. And yes, the primary need of providing a fair and uniform start to all the learners and that is one of the major highlights for including this portion in the NEP. And yes, if everybody goes through this filter and through this funnel, we will have a much stronger outcome coming at the end of the funnel, a decade later, as you have rightly pointed out. So thank you so much. I also welcome Madam Swati Meena Nayak, who has just joined us. She's the Director, Women and Child Development Department at the Government of Madhya Pradesh. And she had very encouragingly, agreed to be a part of this. And this is a topic which she also wants to take up and contribute. So, hearty welcome, ma'am, and thank you for joining. We've just heard three panelists, and we are moving on to the fourth panelist. And after that, we will have your address as the keynote address. So that is the flow.
Thank you, Siddharth, for your welcome note. And I'm really looking forward for you. I could hear Mrs. Sangeeta speaking. It was nice listening to her. Good, views on very with clarity. So, and I'm going to go through the recorded version of this session because I missed the other panelists. So please go forward. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we are getting it recorded for our later, perusal. So next, we have a very senior and experienced academician, in the middle of us, and I would like to invite Madam Jyoti Arora for her address next. So I'm going to really take the liberty of cutting short on the introduction a little bit, because she has several achievements and so many things and awards to her credit. So giving a very brief introduction, she is the principal at Mount Abu Public School, Delhi. She is also an elected governing body member of the Central Board of Secondary Education, CBSE. She has been awarded CBSE National Teachers Award in 2013 for her relentless efforts in the field of school education. As an expert on education and related fields, she has authored many research and newspaper articles and has participated in various panel discussions across the country and abroad. She is also heading Indraprastha Schools Sahodaya as president, and Delhi School Sahodaya Complex as vice president, which are clusters of more than 120 CBSE affiliated schools in the Delhi NCR region. She's been a part of several delegations from MHRD, which have gone out of India to study the school education systems. She's also a master trainer at Center of Excellence CBSE and has conducted capacity building programs for many teachers across not just India, but Middle East and Africa. And she's conducted various workshops and training sessions across many schools. She's also a Microsoft Innovative Educator and a Microsoft trainer. She's holding significant positions and memberships in many government, semi-government and private schools, bodies of schools, governing boards, and board of governors across several institutions. I'm not going into the details of that. So we are very privileged to have you with us, ma'am, joining us from Mount Abu School. So over to you for your address on today's topic on ECC.
Good evening, everyone, and very warm greetings. Many thanks to Mr. Siddharth for your kind words of introduction. Thank you, Mr. Yadav, for inviting me. It's a pleasure for being a part of this wonderful discussion on NEP, and especially on the theme, on the topic, on the area, the segment, which is very, very close to my heart. It's been 27 years of education, my journey in the field of education, and this area has always been very close to me, because I started my career as a primary teacher, and I know and I claim it openly that whenever I feel that I'm overstressed, overtensed, I just like to spend few minutes in a nursery class or a primary class to ease out all my stress. So No doubt, this new education policy has addressed this area in a very, very focused manner, and the education policy seems to be quite progressive, futuristic, and holistic in nature. And we have started talking about ECCE through this NEP now, whereas I would like to quote the famous quote of Gandhiji, wherein I don't know how many years before he talked about that good education is that which stimulates the spiritual, intellectual, and physical capacities of the children, and it all starts at early childhood. So we understand very well how important this age is, because early childhood years are the basic foundation in child's life, and we also call it building blocks of a human life. And these years no doubt play an important development of a human being. And new education policy 2020 has laid great emphasis on ECC. Much has already been said by Professor Madam Sangeeta and Dr. Pallavi. But in addition to that, there is the theme in the center idea of ECC segment in NEP is that the policy focuses a lot on conceptual learning, holistic development of the child, along with active learning capacities from an early childhood. So early childhood lays the foundation of health, learning, and behavior, which are very important, and all together makes a person a wonderful human being, I should say. So if I have to talk about these three concerned areas, health, learning, and behavior across the life course, and this transformation happens at a very, very fast pace between the years 0 and 6. So development is a lifelong process. We all know that, be it physical, social, emotional, gross motor, cognitive, language development, and ECCE in NEP aims at holistic development of a child's. That means all sort of development has been taken care of through this policy document. So the whole idea is to build a solid and broad foundation for lifelong learning and well-being. And ECCE in NEP majorly aims at providing equitable, joyful, and contextualized opportunities for laying a strong foundation. Because we say that education means, the aim of education is preparing a child for life. And this journey, which starts at a very early age, that means 3 years only, if we could make it very joyful and very enjoyable in every manner, wherein the child is experiencing the thing, learning by playing, learning by feeling, learning by sensing, learning by every sort of experience, so that then it becomes a very, very meaningful journey, and ultimately the product is fantastic. So the policy has clearly emphasized on use of mother tongue and local language, which is very vital to build the concept for young learners. There have been a debate on regional languages and mother languages in NEP. To my understanding, when it comes to understanding a concept in child's own language, whether it is a mother tongue or a regional language, I think the clarity of concept is truly very high. And this is an undebatable issue that the child learns very fast in his or her own language. So there is a great focus on the language part as well, and the focus on ECC will also promote the innovative education by promoting engagement of students in learning by doing and relating to the real life situation. Because here the child is given certain situations to deal with, to come up with the solutions, to think about the problems and then come up with the solutions. And while dealing with the real life situations, I think the child gets engaged into a very meaningful learning, I say. And if I have to talk about this new structure of 5+3+3+4, This structure will surely ensure a strong base for healthy brain development and growth. As Madam Sangeeta said, that the children, at least there is a structure format for these years. You know, in the previous policy or prior to this, children in the age group of 3 to 6 years were nowhere covered. It was 10+2 structure. As the class begins at age of 3. But this new policy addresses the structure very well, and this structure will ensure better overall learning, development, well-being of the children. And early learning for every child is a core necessity. And ECCE acts as a building block for his or her future. You know, and when we talk about the holistic development of any individual, which cannot be ignored, as the capacities can be established in only and only in early childhood years. It helps in structuring the course of child academic journey. And if we could structure the child's academic journey, then again, the results are fantastic and directions are well set for teachers as well as for the children. So ECCE in NEP ideally consists of flexible, multifaceted, multi-level, play-based, activity-based, inquiry-based learning comprising of alphabets, language, art, music, logical thinking, outdoor play, problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, drama, puppetry, dance. So many things have been included in when it comes to approach to ECCE through this NEP. And it also includes a great focus on developing social capacities, sensitivity, good behavior, courtesy, ethics, personal and public cleanliness, teamwork, cooperation, etc. So altogether, what do we look into our child to grow with? We look into these qualities, these characteristics only. And NEP addresses a lot through this segment of ECCE. And further, this new education policy and pedagogical framework for early childhood and care and education for children up to 8 years will be developed by NCERT. This is the first time that a responsible agency, a responsible organization, I should say, has been involved to design a framework. And this framework will be introduced in 2 parts, as we all know. And to my understanding, this framework will be a great investment in in early childhood care and education. And when we have to talk about the reading and writing skills, it also talks a lot about the ability to read and write and perform the basic numbers starting from an early age. The child grasps lots of things from his environment and considers his environment as a learning source. I always say that whatever we wish to get out of our children, we have to create an environment. If we could create that kind of environment, the child comes out with all those qualities which we want to see in our child. So creating an environment is very important, and the more the opportunity is provided, how can we create that environment as an educationist? We need to create variety of platforms, number of opportunities for children to choose, learn and grow. So if we could create these kind of opportunities, if we could provide these kind of opportunities to our young learners for being inquisitive, the more curious he or she becomes. And curiosity is the invention of necessity, you know. So ECCE is the biggest game changer in education, and there has been a special emphasis on learning that is not only holistic and experiential, but also integrative and enjoyable. Enjoyment or the fun learning, the joyful learning experience has been addressed a lot in this policy, and the real understanding and towards learning how to learn is the key focus. Because once, if we could train our child how to learn instead of what to learn, I think that is going to be a long life for retention with the child, and it's going to be very meaningful learning for a learner. And also, it's very rightly highlighted in NEP that ECCE is a powerful tool to build up social and emotional quotient of young children. You know, especially during this pandemic time, our greatest concern is how to handle the social and emotional well-being of children, wherein they are into this lockdown situation. It's been 6 months, they are away from the schools, away from their friends, families, they are into entirely excluded kind of environment. So and this will also help us to build up social and emotional quotient of young children. And early literacy and numeracy is considered as one of the benchmark for future education. And it has been proven time and again that when due attention is given to the foundational aspects of education and continuous guidance is provided by well-trained teachers, because NEP is talking a lot about capacity building of teachers, which is the need of the hour. So if they are being provided with continuous guidance for smooth integration of concepts, especially in early childhood during school education, the child emerges out as a confident being in future. And that is what exactly we look forward. Ultimately, we want to see a child full of capacities and one who is able to handle the situations of the forthcoming world, because the world is globally transforming very fast. Digitally, it's getting very integrated. So the child should be able to understand the challenges of the forthcoming world or the forthcoming time, and the child should have those capacities to handle those challenges. That is the actual meaning of education, and that is the actual purpose of education. I think NEP has lots of scope, lots of provision to integrate 21st century skills. Art integration has been addressed, physical education integration, life skills integration. I think with lots of integration, involvement, engagement, we shall be able to produce a child which is complete in every sense. And in the concluding words, I would like to conclude with this statement of the famous author Jess Lair, that children are not things to be molded, but are people to be unfolded. So this is very important that we keep their emotions also into our best consideration. And NEP has opened up a big scope for each one of us as an educator. Now, if the policy is being taken up in a very true spirit, I think India is going to lead the world in education. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jyoti ma'am. And very nicely you have touched upon the intent and the spirit behind including this entire segment within the NEP. And I'm sure this will find takers and will find acceptance across the entire early childhood care and preschool fraternity, and will find action in the coming months. So thank you so much for sharing your views with us. So we've had a very engaging session with 4 panelists touching upon same to some extent, and yet very different angles in each of their addresses towards the early childhood care and education. And now it's time for us to invite our keynote speaker for today, Madam Swati Meena Naik. So I would just introduce her very briefly. She is an IAS officer of 2007 batch. She's been the collector in Mandla, CG and Khandwa districts. She's been the director town and country planning earlier, then the managing director of the Markfed government of Madhya Pradesh, and presently she is serving as the director of Women and Child Development Department, government of Madhya Pradesh. So, ma'am, we're all ready to hear your address on this entire topic, as well as the probably the regulations or similar aspects for Madhya Pradesh and this early childhood care and preschool fraternity of Madhya Pradesh. And finally, what are the steps the government is probably trying to take to adopt NEP in their overall rollout plan. So over to you, ma'am, for your address. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you so much. And I think all the academicians here, going by the profile, they have really stressed on very important aspects regarding the teachers' capacity building, the kind of curriculum which is supposed to be designed, keeping in the requirement and needs of the growing children in the age group of 3 to 6. Just to give you the background, Women and Child Development have been running the Anganwadi since 1975 as a center where a child can learn their basic knowledge or get acquainted to how to study and grow in an environment where they can get nutritional inputs as well. So it was a long time back in 1975 when government started thinking in terms of investing in their generation and starting early from the time of the conception of a child. So the ICDS schemes, which is the Integrated Child Development Scheme, which envisages that there should be a safe motherhood and healthy child by tracking their and monitoring their growth even before a girl gets ready to get married. So the adopting the life cycle approach and focusing on the nutritional education, the scheme has been running for decades now. And with all its challenges it is facing, what we are seeing, because a child's entire brain development takes place during the gestation period, and so it is also very important, so where we can actually reduce the disabilities, the chances, the frequencies of disabilities that the child can be born with. I'm just trying to give a background how the concept of preschool education has evolved in the the formulation, policy formulation by the government. And we have seen the education department and the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan coming in of talking about universalization of primary education. And now in 2020, we would want to stretch our boundaries and would want to guarantee a safe childhood and a childhood for a promotional childhood, rather to say, to help a child grow cognitively, emotionally, and be ready to assimilate the knowledge around him. So Madhya Pradesh has drafted ECC policy. I think we have revised it because last year we had come up with the policy, and now with the new NEP 2020, we have gone for a revision, and we found that now since the ambit has increased, not many private schools have come under the regulation. There was a discussion from all the quarters, including education department, non-government people, and then there is organization running the educational institutions. And we have kind of formulated our own framework, assimilating the point, thinking that the environment from government has to be more promotional and more a kind of as a leader to show a way where we can have a good curriculum design based on the premises of not just giving inputs, knowledge inputs to a child, but also to give him the kind of emotional environment which most of the children lacks in vulnerable areas, and also identify the disabilities in cognition at a very, very early stage. So when I'm starting the note, because there's been a lot of discourse and discussion on how we could educate or teach a child or help him understand in a pre-primary school of a normal child. But as a government, when we sit, so we start with the person which will be standing at the last mile. So how the policy has to address their needs. So somewhere thought of inclusive education Also, the thought of giving an environment based on equality, socially, based on gender equity, and also inclusive education where you do not have separate schools for children with special needs. So when we say that, I guess there is a lot of capacity building and HR requirement at the pre-primary level. So a great deal of investment is required in the capacity enhancement, getting a kind of a skill set which can actually not just teach a kid, but also observe his growth and the direction of growth. So as we know that 80% of the development is going to take place in this period, and both things, the kind of environment a child is thriving and a kind of nutrition a child is getting, both are equally important for us. We are trying to address all the issues in a holistic manner through this policy, and would soon be coming up with regulatory guidelines, and also very smooth and easy to register format where we would want schools, preschools to register in a very smooth fashion, because there have been most of the schools, 90% of them have been running with already been running with the preschool format system. So we need to give them a very easy to use platform, and not running from pillar to post to getting their registrations and all the regulation aspects cleared. So we are in process of that, and inputs from the schools and the society would be welcome for that, so that we can make it more friendly and less regulatory. This is what we would like to aim at. Plus, as there's been a discussion on the curriculum development, I guess we need to really focus, as you all have emphasized, on the aspect of making teaching in a very interesting way. I mean, not to say so teaching, but actually helping a child to explore his creativity and explore his understanding, because and helping him express himself or herself. So we also been thinking about, because in POCSO we do find that not many children of this age group also are victims. So expression is a powerful medium. So how to give language, how to help them develop the language, how to have a multilingual format for teaching, and how to help them understand their own emotions. So I would want us, all of us as a part of education system, whether in various roles and responsibility, to actually evolve our education system to a very different level, from way away from what we used to know during when we were kids and we were studying and our parents were studying, was to study to become something and to study to learn and know a lot of things and to actually exhibit your knowledge in front of your neighbors or your guests coming home. I think we need to be more focusing on, again I'm saying, and I've been at the risk of being repetitive at many times, that the emotional growth of the child is very important, and the power of expression and communication has to be given to the child at that age, because this is the way his brain is growing. And most important, when I say that he or she should be in an environment when he can appreciate the importance, or he sees equality in all the forms, socioeconomic equality, or when it comes to gender equality, because this is the right time when we are seeding the idea in a child about a perfect world, a right kind of a world, and the kind of principles our country as a whole in its constitution identity enshrine it. So these are all the ideas we had while we were weaving the entire framework, and we would be very happy to get reviews on that, to get more inputs on that, because this is a new arena we are entering in, where there is a requirement of a lot of policy formulations, a lot of rules, and a lot of, I think, guidelines. Collaboratively needs to be drawn so that, this is something a client would write now when we do draft policies for industries or for higher education or for any other sector. It's very easy because your client is not that vulnerable. And because when you deal with children at the age of 3 to 6, they are very sensitive and very vulnerable. So one has to really get their best interest forward. Similarly, on this line, we do see that child protection policy of the state also has to be in line with the ECC. Also, our nutrition policy has to address the requirement of the and has to reiterate or reassert or kind of make it very obligatory on part of state to ensure that children of children of this age group across the state or the country are ensured nutrition. So with all these thoughts, we have been trying to really get a good policy out, and probably will be soon be out with a new updated version of ECC and the new framework and new website, which is about to be launched for it's kind of one-day registration, where on self-declaration we are allowing schools to register themselves and do declare that these are the parameters we are conforming to. We want to lessen the inspection systems, and we would want to reduce those stringent provisions. So this is the way I look at, and I do say, there's a disclaimer that my opinions do not come as an expert. My opinion just come as an administrator, and what I have assimilated from a lot of people who have been thorough with this field and who have been working for a long in this area. Thank you so much, and I'm sure with the recorded version I would be able to get inputs from all of you. And thank you, Yadavji, for inviting me for this session. Just because of the last minute meeting, I got delayed for joining in the session. But this has been a commendable effort, and I think we should have much of these kind of discourses and interaction with varied people who had such a long experience and have much to offer and collaborate with government. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that. And it's very heartening to hear that the overall spirit of the regulations and the handholding is that of enablement and that of facilitation. And I'm sure the private sector and everybody else would be welcoming that very much. To tell you, this is the 4th dialogue today under the new education policy. And earlier we have touched upon skills, higher education and school education as the 3 verticals with the respective administrators from the government. And in fact, for skills, we've had very good traction, and we are working with PS ma'am to submit a few of the suggestions. And she had also suggested that we should make it a very regular kind of a dialogue and meet regularly to bounce off ideas and collect recommendations from industry and the sector. So we'll be very happy to probably convene this and keep it as an ongoing exercise rather than a one-off dialogue and event, and we can easily do that. So before we end, I would invite a few questions or comments from either the panelists, or if any of the attendees also wants to ask any question, you can use the Q&A panel and send me your question. We have just about a little time for a few questions. So starting with the panelists first, any one of you would like to ask ma'am a question or give a comment?
Yes, Siddharth, if I may.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Swati ma'am, for enlightening us about the balanced approach we can expect from the government in Madhya Pradesh and the way forward. One question which I wanted to ask you, I think on behalf of a lot of people who have this in mind, what are the expected timelines of rollout for the implementation of this entire policy? Not just for the ECC and the childhood segment, early childhood segment, but also for the school levels. If you can tell us about that. And part 2 of my question is, as we all know, I mean, the policy is great, but to be able to implement it, there needs to be a lot rigorous teacher training and, hand-holding for, those who are the actual, who are going to be in charge of delivery of this entire model. So can we expect, some additional support from the government to schools, private schools as well, as far as this is concerned? Thank you, ma'am.
Dr. Pallavi, you are bang on when you are asking this question about, because as I said, the government should also lead when they are formulating guidelines for pre-primary schools. So I would see for us a long time, more than for our specific government, because we run around 1 lakh Anganwadis, and to strengthen the capacities and of the Anganwadis who are at the same time dealing with the nutritional programs also. So, but yes, what we had come up with a short-term plan was to develop a state resource center for preschool education, and that again, and to engage all the private schools already who have a lot of experience in this field, and develop a time frame. So when we say we are also planning to have a long training session and also interactive session with the schools, where we can get inputs on various aspects and actually design an implementation framework. Bal Bhavans, as you know, the state of Madhya Pradesh has been running since I think 3 decades old. So now we do have an infrastructure, we do have a budget line, we do have our resources there. We are proposing to turn these centers into the state resource centers of early child education and care, and develop curriculum and also activities, because it is very difficult when we say curriculum, because when you design curriculum for secondary education or higher education, it's much easier. You have a defined set of things, but you can't, with ECC, you need to make it more activity based. You have a lot of guiding principles for it, but to design tools for teaching, and actually tools not just for teaching, but also tools for observing a kid's growth. Also observing if a child is showing some signs of cognitive development, retarded cognitive development, or if he needs more care and communication, so how you might just help him. So this is more ticklish part of it, where we don't find much of research, or we cannot bank upon the previous experiences on that. So we need to make a head start. And I would not say that, and I do not want to appear from government side as kind of didactic, some guidance note coming out for guiding the institutions. We are going to do this work in a collaborative manner. The policy will be soon out in next, I guess, 20 odd days, because of some issues. The policy is still lying there with the government. And also the regulatory guidelines will be soon out. So I do not see the issues in the policy framework coming out and the guidelines. But yes, as you said, to implement the policy and the guidelines expected. So at the first go, the guidelines have been kept little simple. And as we advance forward, we would want to upgrade ourselves, and we would want to upgrade our skill as a whole. Not just individually. I would expect schools to come out with fantastic infrastructure and out of reality stuff. I do not do that. I do not expect that. But yes, we need to surely ensure, we need to make sure that all the aspects regarding a child promotional growth promotional activities and a child protection and a suitable environment is provided in all the preschools.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you for that answer, ma'am. Any of other panelists want to ask any question or comment?
Can I?
Yes, Sangeeta ma'am, please.
Yeah. Good evening, Swati ma'am. It's very nice to interact to you. And in the hindsight, we see that the Madhya Pradesh government is really planning well to implement this policy. A little bit of reservations which I have, you said we will be having a regulatory, body and everything would be there. The regulations will be out. Now, my concern as an educationist and at that level, with little children is always the security of the children is the foremost importance. And, this, when you send out a regulatory, we have to reinforce that the security, when we are giving out, these regulations out, the security is never compromised for the children. So one thing, what the government would think about it, that part is not compromised, and in the zeal to lead out that policy and everybody becoming a part of it. Secondly, my concern is that the NEP has to be implemented in a very true spirit, and bottom up is the approach at the moment. And this has to go to the grassroots levels of MP, the rural MP, where, at the moment we might be struggling with even government schools, to implement the ECC out there. What are our views about that, ma'am? How are we going to be going ahead with that? That are two questions, I have in my mind. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Ma'am, this is not what we are thinking. ECC, we would be taking support of the education system, and around we have mapped out like 20 to 25% of schools, because they are the Anganwadis in the campus of the primary schools, and the rest of the Anganwadis are outside the school campus. So for the 75% of it, we need to, number one, we do have children enrolled. So kind of universalization of ECC has been ensured since, since the ICDS was in place in 1975. But the part which we need to now look at is the quality of education. And more than that, the HR, the HR is under huge pressure of dealing and executing n number of other schemes related to health, because we do have to, I think across the country we have the same format of engagement in Anganwadis. That is, one is the Anganwadi worker and the other is the Anganwadi Sahayika, the supporters. So, and then we have is the group of villagers, which group of females in a village who supports them in the activities of community mobilization and likewise. So we are in a process of, they have undergone trainings, but a lot needs to be done. And if you ask me personally, I would definitely want government to invest more in this area, and rather having two HR there, we need to, because on an average, we have around 40 to 60. The number varies between 40 to 60 children registered in every Anganwadi. And that they are the children coming from the most distressed families. So whether economically or socially. So there has to be more, there has to be more nuanced handling, and there has to be more sensitive orientation on part of the teachers. So we do see it's a challenging and a daunting task which is ahead of us. But I'm very happy, at least we have started thinking in this direction. We have never, NEP has come out with a big vision. And as you were also speaking about India, if the country has to go forth, we need to invest in our HR. This is the demographic dividend is going to be in our favor when we do make investments. So it's I'm very happy, rather than just talking about the higher skill management, we are also focusing on children right from their childhood. So, not letting the challenges frighten us from the task ahead. Let us just settle with this, that at least government has prioritized ECC on its cards.
Thank you, ma'am. I think well said, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for that. And I'm afraid I think we have run out of time now, and we would have to wind up the session now. But as we can see, probably this could become an ongoing dialogue going ahead. And also we would be sharing, of course, the recording of the video with ma'am and everybody else. And looking at the overall collaborative approach. You can also keep sending in your suggestions to the CII Madhya Pradesh Task Force on Education and Skills, and we would make sure that they reach the right point. So with these words, from my side, I would like to thank our keynote speaker, Madam Swati Meena, very much for your patient listening and participating, and as much as also for the 4 distinguished panelists who addressed the entire topic very beautifully and got the nuances and the intent and the spirit of this entire section come out of our audience very, very nicely. So to formally close the program and give the final remarks, may I now request once again Professor Manisha Kavathekar for giving your closing remarks and summarizing the session today. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Today's session has really been most interesting and enlightening, and I deem it a privilege to propose the vote of thanks to all our esteemed resource persons. I wish to express my earnest gratitude to our chief guest, Mrs. Swati Meena Naik, IS, Director, Women and Child Development, Government of MP, for sharing her vision on NEP and for giving us valuable guidance. Ma'am, your support to all the educationists in MP in drafting and formulating policies, we are humbled that you seek our advice. Thank you so much, ma'am. We are indebted to you for taking time out from your busy schedule and for presenting your views. Thank you so much, ma'am. We are especially thankful to have Mrs. Jyoti Arora, member of the governing body of CBSE and Principal, Mount Abu Public School, Delhi, who had pressing engagements today, but managed to join us and share her views. We have gained from your experience and guidings, ma'am, regarding content and policy structure. So thank you, ma'am. Hope for a continued interaction in the future too. My heartfelt thanks to Mrs. Sangeeta Uppal, Principal, the Millennium School, Indore, for briefing us about the critical points in ECCE. We appreciate your input, which has expanded our thinking process by leading us from learning to development of the child. Thank you, ma'am. I extend my most sincere appreciation to Dr. Pallavi Rao Chaturvedi, EVP, ISEC Group, founder, Brainy Bear Schools, and Get Set Parent, for your educational expertise, which has given us a conceptual understanding of the salient features of ECC like FLN, book depository, sharing of resources, etc. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable inputs. Special thanks to Mr. Siddharth Chaturvedi, Chairman CII Bhopal and Director ISEC Group for your encouragement and support from completion to execution, along with the entire team of CII who have been constantly arranging such sessions, and this is the 4th part of which. Thank you, sir. I also wish to acknowledge the perspective of Engineer B.S. Yadav, co-convener CII MP Education Panel and Chancellor IS University. Your views and suggestions are really impactful. My deepest regards to all the educators present here today, the management, principals, headmasters, coordinators, faculties of schools, who take pride in their work. You have participated in today's webinar and made it a resounding success. John F. Kennedy had said that a child miseducated is a child lost. So heartfelt thanks again to each and every one involved in education for your presence, your contribution, and support. Good day to all, and Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and we'll convene again with another topic under the MP Education and Skills Task Force. Thank you for joining, and we will be closing the session now. Thank you so much.
Sangeeta, madam, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. It was very enlightening. Thank you so much.